At number 10 is Tigra, a superhero who's basically a giant talking cat. Tiger. Personally, I'm a dog person, so it's easy to see why Tigra would be so underestimated. After all, she's hardly the most well-known feline superhero out there. Nevertheless, she's got all the cool feline powers: razor-sharp claws, agility like you wouldn't believe, and a tail that's more than just for show. All pretty generic, but there's one moment in the comics that truly made her stand out. See, Tigra once took down a Skrull who had all the powers of the Fantastic Four combined. Yeah, we're talking about a Skrull with stretchy abilities, fire powers, rock-hard strength, and invisibility. Like, forget the Fantastic Four, this dude was fantastic on his ones. And Tigra, she outsmarted and outpaced this Super Skrull in a face-off. Even when the Skrull had a speed boost from the Human Torch's fire, Tigra showed that she's the real speed demon here. Now, even though Tigra doesn't always hog the spotlight like some of the other big names in the Marvel Universe, she's still an Avenger, so while Tigra might not be on everyone's superhero lunchbox, she's definitely got the skills and the guts to hang out with Earth's mightiest heroes. At number 9 is Sunspot. Roberto da Costa, aka Sunspot, isn't your typical superhero. Not only does he have the whole rich guy thing going for him, but his powers are seriously cool too. He's basically a human solar panel, able to absorb energy and turn it into super strength. Now, the moment when he faced off against the Red Hulk was legendary. Going toe-to-toe with a Hulk takes some serious guts. Sunspot's determination and his solar-powered might were on full display here. He launched a punch so strong, it actually drew blood from the Red Hulk. That's like leaving a dent in a brick wall by punching it. It's basically unheard of. Now, what makes him even cooler is the dude typically holds back from unleashing his full fury. In fact, he barely ever needs to throw punches at all. Sunspot usually relies on his charisma and brains instead of flaunting his powers. But when he does decide to unleash that solar strength, watch out, because there's a lot more to him than just his hefty bank account. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 is Reptile. Reptile is a hero with some seriously cool but kind of underrated powers, transforming into dinosaurs. Like, you're in a fight and bam, you can morph into a T-Rex or a raptor, and that's pretty much Reptile's shtick, and it's super awesome. But what's even cooler is that it's gonna take a lot more than a flimsy extinction rock from space to take this dude down. Like, you thought meteors were scary? Try surviving a nuclear blast. Yeah, you heard that right. Apparently, that's where Reptile really shines. At Avengers Arena number 18, this guy survives a direct nuclear explosion. He walks out of it without a scratch, no radiation poisoning, nada. It's not something that just any superhero can boast about. Like, even big shots like Namor were impressed. But handling those dino forms is also quite tricky business. He risks losing control every time he switches into a dinosaur, which adds a hefty dose of risk to his superhero game. So while Reptile might not be headlining Marvel movies or comics, surviving a nuclear blast speaks volumes about his toughness. Turning into dinos might not be as flashy as shooting lasers, let's say, but hey, he's got a serious resilience. Definitely a hero worth giving some more credit to.
Number 7, Duke Thomas. Now, I feel like this might bother a few people, but honestly, this young blood still has to prove himself in my eyes. There is absolutely no doubt he is powerful. As one of the only meta-humans on the Bat family roster, he's already naturally a cut above many others, but there are so many more that could bring him down without even needing superpowers. Powers don't always equal superiority on this family. Speaking of his powers though, Duke wields Ghost Vision, which he uses to perceive people and moments in the past and in the future. He also wields a cosmic awareness that extends into other realities and has even used the ability to travel across dimensions by light and shadow. Now, he originally started as part of the We Are Robin movement, but left and ended up making it on his own. Batman then took him in, helped train him, and then sent him out to be a part of the new Outsiders team alongside Black Lightning. Number 6, Lucius Fox. There are a few people without which Bruce Wayne would not be where he is or be able to do the things that he does. Among this very select group would be Lucius Fox. First appearing in 1979, Lucius was the second in command at Wayne Enterprises. He is an incredibly adept businessman known throughout the world, but he is also, privately, Bruce Wayne's business manager, financial executive, and, not to mention, armorer. And if that weren't enough, when Bruce Wayne decided to resign, Lucius was promoted to CEO of Wayne Enterprises and the Wayne Foundation. His power definitely comes from the power of the company, his connection to Bruce, his sons, Luke and Jace, who is not a member of the Bat family, surprisingly, and he also does have a military background, so there is that if he's ever in like a little scuffle. It turns out that in DC, power isn't only about how big your muscles are. Number 5, Batwing. Luke Fox is not the first Batwing, but for a lot of us, he is definitely the coolest one. Being the son of Lucius Fox, Luke is a tech genius, graduating a year early with 2 degrees from MIT. His tech prowess really aids him as he has an incredibly advanced suit of armor that does a lot. For example, the suit has a full faceplate, retractable cape, and an interior skin that monitors vital signs and enacts first aid, like hardening around broken bones to hold the bone in place and administering painkillers. It gives Luke a form of invisibility, detective vision, holograms, it can access the GCPD computers, features gyroscopic assist, a terrain map, shock charges, a kinetic patch, anti-personnel plates, and just so much more. This is on top of Luke's training as an MMA fighter before his Batman training. Unfortunately, he just hasn't received a chance to shine in the spotlight yet and primarily works as a supporting character in most Bat family storylines. Number 4, Stephanie Brown. I feel like there are a lot of mixed feelings on Stephanie Brown out there. She has had an interesting history as a member of the Bat family. Originally, Stephanie fought against her father, the villain Cluemaster, under the vigilante name Spoiler. She would usually fight alongside Tim Drake Robin, and they had a bit of a relationship going on the side. Now, Batman eventually trained her up some, and when Tim was forced to step down, thanks to his own father, Stephanie even took up the title of Robin. But this was pretty short-lived, as she actually did not make a very good Robin, constantly disobeying orders and pursuing criminals on her own, which eventually led to her downfall. She ended up in the hospital, and it was really questionable if she would even pull through. Luckily, though, she did survive and even went on to succeed Cassandra Cain, becoming the 3rd Batgirl. Now, the 2 of them, Cassandra and Stephanie, are the duo known as the Batgirls. Number 3, Huntress. Like a lot of the Bat family superheroes that we have already talked about, there have been a few versions of Huntress. The original was Helena Wayne, the daughter of both Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle, and that character was loved. Unfortunately, though, that character belongs to what is known as Earth 2, which is essentially the world of the original DC heroes, but she has not remained the Prime Earth's Huntress. Instead, we now have Helena Bartonelli. Well, sort of. We also have a Helena Wayne, but she's from an alternate future of Prime Earth. Are you confused? Because so am I. Let's just talk about Bartonelli. The only surviving member of the Bartonelli crime family, Helena has dedicated her life to a vendetta on crime after her family was wiped out by being a part of said crime. She was actually incredibly ruthless, very much willing to take the lives of criminals, which brought her and Batman to odds on a few occasions. But with that famous determination, Batman was eventually able to sway her way of thinking just a tiny bit. She was also done really well in the Birds of Prey movie, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. Number 2, Azrael. Another hero title with multiple bearers. This time, though, it's a little different. The title of Azrael belongs to the chosen warrior of the Sacred Order of St. Dumas, cloned and enhanced, subconsciously trained and conditioned, and raised to be a perfect soldier. The most famous, and the one I'm going to talk about today, is John Paul Valley. Once he became Azrael, Valley had encountered both Bruce and Alfred in Switzerland, saving them and actually abandoning his own order for Bruce Wayne's moral values, and he went back to Gotham with both of them. He impressed Bruce Wayne so much within his time that when Bruce eventually had his back broken by Bane, it was Valley who Bruce chose to continue the Batman name. Fortunately, this didn't go too well, as he lost his grip on reality and fell from grace. But he is an incredibly cool and capable character who has arguably gotten much better on the more recent Prime Earth. Number 1, Ghostmaker. Minkoa Khan, Ghostmaker, is essentially Bruce Wayne's rival from his formative years into becoming Batman. Kind of like how in Pokemon games you always have a rival who you hate but kind of respect because they always challenge you and help you improve. Ghostmaker trained with a large number of the same mentors that taught Bruce Wayne, and it's arguable that Ghostmaker is actually equal to Batman. The difference between the two is mainly in ideologies. For starters, Ghostmaker is kind of a psychopath. Bruce Wayne is not exactly psychologically sound, but he has a strong moral code, whereas Ghostmaker fights crime as if it's a kind of sport. And he has absolutely zero zero qualms with taking someone permanently out of the picture. Operating mostly in Southeast Asia, he constantly tried to get Bruce to see things from his point of view, which eventually led the two to agree to just stay out of each other's way. This guy is very much rated, but for most fans of Batman, learning about Ghostmaker will come as a surprise.
Number 10 is Atom Smasher. No, I'm not talking about Atom Smasher from Cyberpunk lore. I'm talking about the lesser known Atom Smasher, as in the atomic particle smasher, aka Robert Julian Rothstein, who was a big deal in the DC world, literally, not figuratively. Picture this, he's a hero who could grow super big, towering over trees, and packing a punch that could knock anybody out. Now, despite his mega size and power, he didn't get the spotlight he deserved in many big storylines. But there was one storyline where he did in fact prove himself. Atom Smasher did something huge, literally and figuratively this time, by kicking a tyrant out of power in Kahndaq. Leading a team of rebel do-gooders, he flexed his muscles, showing bravery and fought for what he thought was right. His powers on display played a big role in taking down the bad guys, and his actions reshaped the DC universe by returning control to the people of Kahndaq. Atom Smasher might not have been in the headlines all the time, but when he stepped up, he changed the game for the better. At number 9 is Saturn Girl. Saturn Girl is a seriously underrated superhero in the DC universe. She's all about telepathy, a superpower that lets her read minds and communicate without even speaking. But despite her awesome abilities, she's often overlooked, just like the rest of her crew, the Legion of Superheroes. The team doesn't always get the credit it deserves, always living in the shadow of bigger superhero groups like the Justice League or Justice Society of America. But here's the kicker, Saturn Girl once saved the entire timeline. Yeah, you heard that right. A girl who just communicates with her thoughts saved the multiverse. She used her mind mojo to gather every Legion member across different universes to take down the big bad guy, the Time Trapper. Without her, who knows what kind of chaos would have happened. Saturn Girl might not be as famous as Superman or Wonder Woman, but her brain power packs a serious punch when it's used correctly. She's a legend in her own right, even if not everybody knows about it. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support Top 10 Nerd by pressing like, subscribing to the channel, and ringing that notification bell. It helps the video get pushed out to more people, and I would really appreciate it, so do that. Thank you very much. Moving on to number 8, we have Mr. Terrific. Michael Holt, also known as Mr. Terrific, doesn't just juggle lasers like they're nothing. I mean, this guy's got brains and brawn. He's all about saving the day and helping people out, but he doesn't get the credit he deserves. This dude's a top-notch genius and can do some seriously amazing things with his smarts. I'm talking about being the big shot in the Justice Society of America and being labeled as the smartest member ever. Mr. Terrific isn't just book smart though, he's a wizard with tech too. He pulled off some mind-blowing stuff against Brother Eye and saved Selina Kyle's life by putting her heart right where it belonged. Bottom line, Mr. Terrific doesn't always get the spotlight often, but when he does, it's because he's using that epic brain of his to pull off some seriously epic moves. At number 7 is Speedball. You know, Speedball might not be the first hero that comes to mind when you think of Marvel track stars, but this guy has an incredible story worth talking about. See, back in the day, he was part of the New Warriors, a team that wasn't exactly grabbing the headlines like the Avengers or the X-Men. In fact, his team ended up becoming a bit satirical, with its final incarnation taking the form of a superheroed reality show, which doesn't quite sound so serious. But here's the thing, leading up to Marvel's Civil War, things got super serious for Speedball. His team faced off against this bad guy named Nitro, and let's just say they underestimated him big time, seeing as they may have been a bit more occupied with their show's ratings than actually taking down the bad guy, which was a major mistake. Nitro set off this insane explosion in Stamford that wiped out the entire city and everybody on the scene except for Speedball. Can you imagine? 600 people gone in a blink of an eye, including all of Speedball's superpowered pals. But this guy, his powers that involve bouncing around and soaking up energy, somehow managed to survive. At number 6 is Mimic. This guy's got the wild mutant ability called power mimicry, which means he can copy the abilities of not 1, not 2, but up to 5 different superhumans all at once. It's like having a superpower sampler platter. And it gets even crazier. Mimic isn't limited to just mutant abilities, because he can also mimic non-mutant powers like those of the Fantastic Four. Plus, after hanging out with these superpowered folks for a while, he can consciously switch up and choose which abilities to use on command. In Exiles number 14, Namor the Submariner is on a conquest to claim Latveria, and who steps up? None other than Mimic himself. And these two heavyweights go at it for nearly an hour, and ultimately, Mimic wins, not only taking down Namor, but a whole army of Doombots all by himself. some serious superhero muscle right there. As a member of an alternate universe Exiles team from Earth 12, he doesn't nearly get the same recognition as Earth 616 heroes, but it doesn't make him any less powerful. At number 5 is Nova. Sam Alexander is the second incarnation of Nova, taking up after his father after discovering the Nova helmet and using its powers to protect the galaxy. At face value, he sounds kind of generic, especially with his supernova strength and speed, especially since he's overshadowed by his dad so often. But Nova is arguably much more powerful because the kid just can't seem to catch a break. In the final issues of Avengers vs. X-Men, he goes toe-to-toe with Cyclops. And if you think that's impressive, wait till I tell you that Cyclops was imbued with the Phoenix Force. And believe it or not, this kid freaking won. That's like a David and Goliath moment right there. At number 4 is Aurora. Ever heard of Aurora? She's this awesome, super fast hero with some seriously underrated powers. Sure, her twin brother Northstar gets a lot of attention, but Aurora's abilities are top-notch too. In a scene from X-Men number 191, Aurora and Northstar casually destroy X-Mansion, showing off their immense powers. But when Northstar's gotta take a moment to catch his breath, Aurora just doesn't hold back, and goes on the brink of wiping out the whole mutant crew single-handedly. She was a hair away from total domination. Now the thing is, she's got it all: speed, flight, and control over light, yet she's often sidelined compared to her brother. It's like everybody's sleeping on her massive potential. At number 3 is Speed. Speed, also known as Tommy Shepard, might not be on the A-list like Iron Man or Spidey, but he is seriously impressive. You see, Speed isn't just any speedster. He inherited his uncle Quicksilver's velocity, which automatically makes him one of the fastest folks in the Marvel Universe. As one of Scarlet Witch's 2 sons, he often gets overshadowed by his brother Wiccan. Now, obviously, Wiccan's powers are a lot more versatile, given that he does all things magic and Speed just kind of runs fast. But don't get it twisted, Wiccan's magic ain't got nothing on Speed's, well, speed. Why, you ask? Well, you see, Wiccan can teleport. Now, one would think that means he could outpace his brother, and that was put to the test in Young Avengers Presents number 3, where the two brothers raced against each other. Speed did the unbelievable, outpacing his teleporting brother in a race. Imagine that, outrunning somebody who can spontaneously manifest from one spot to another in an instant. That kind of speed is insane. It's moments like these where you wonder why Speed doesn't get more recognition. He's got the speed, the skills, and definitely the power to shake things up in the Marvel world. At number 2 is Tempo. You know, Tempo might not be the first superhero that pops in your mind when you think of Marvel, but trust me, she's one of the most badass time manipulators in the game. She used to hang out with the Mutant Liberation Front, rocking that iconic bullet-headed suit, but things got real interesting when she joined Krakoa. Suddenly, she had a shot at being a part of the X-Men crew, and that's when folks started noticing her. But the moment when Tempo truly proved herself came in the Marauders series. Until this point, Tempo was only known for slowing or stopping time, but here, she doesn't just stop time, she flips it like a pancake, sending time backwards by billions of years. Yeah, that's right, billions with a B. It's telling me that her first time traveling, she accomplished a feat of such magnitude that most other time travelers couldn't even dream of. This isn't your average hero. She's like the time-traveling wizard of the Marvel Universe. I mean, sure, she might not have the same spotlight as other time travelers like Kang, but Tempo is proving herself to be a powerhouse you definitely don't want to underestimate. At number 1 is Hellion. Imagine facing off against one of the toughest superheroes out there, the Hulk. Yeah, Sunspot isn't the only one who stood up against the giant. Enter this dude. Despite being a young hero, he pulled off something insanely epic. In a comic called World War Hulk X-Men number 1, he did the unthinkable. Using his telekinetic powers, he locked the Hulk's fist, giving his team a chance to regroup for battle. Yeah, you heard me right, y'all. A teenager managed to hold back the mighty Hulk's fists with his mind. Now, obviously that didn't last forever, but just managing to hold back the strongest force in the multiverse? Come on now, this guy should be a superstar. Now, he might not be as famous as some other Marvel heroes, but he's proven he's got some serious skills. Surviving tough situations and facing off against baddies like the Hulk shows he's definitely one to watch in the underrated superhero league. At number 10 is Cardiac. Cardiac is a superhero who's kind of like the Punisher, but instead of taking down the Mafia, he's tackling the messed up healthcare system. He's got a cool costume, cool gadgets, and a heart replaced by a fancy device called the Beta Particle Reactor. This thing gives him powers like no regular human could have. He's got this vibranium mesh all over him, making him super stealthy. As for as bulky as his suit is, it doesn't make a sound when he moves. And also, he's crazy strong, like 15 tons strong. Plus, he's faster than any Olympic sprinter, and he can keep going without getting tired. But his origin story is what hits really hard. Elias Wortham, Cardiac's alter ego, lost his brother to an incurable disease. Motivated by this tragedy, he studied medicine and ended up in a pharmaceutical company's board. But here's the kicker. While working there, Elias discovered that they hid a cure that could have saved his brother. Why? Well, because it wouldn't have made nearly as much money. That's the harsh reality Cardiac reflects, a system valuing profit over people's well-being. He's not just a typical hero, he fights with a sense of justice and moral obligation, making him a standout character deserving more recognition. A miniseries dedicated to him could shed the light on real-world issues within the healthcare industry. He's not just muscles and gadgets though, he's super smart, like a genius, and a skilled surgeon. But here's the catch. His heart needs recharging, and if it fails, he's in for trouble. He's got all kinds of high-tech stuff like shooting energy blasts and a hang glider for quick flights even. All in all, Cardiac is a hero taking on big problems with a big heart, or rather a big particle reactor. At number 9 is the God Squad. The God Squad in Marvel Comics might not ring a bell for many, but they are a powerhouse of a crew you just cannot overlook. I mean, seriously, it's crazy that nobody knows about this divine team up. Picture this. At one point or another, the squad had the likes of Thor, Venus, Cersei, the Silver Surfer, Snowboard, Makabashi, Ajax, Amadeus Cho, Adam, and freaking Galactus teaming up to tackle massive threats. God Squad was assembled at the behest of Athena in order to fight against the Skrull Pantheon. Now, what's unique about the God Squad is that they're a mix of deities that come from a vast variety of different cultures teaming up against mega threats. Think of it kind of like Marvel's A-Team of gods facing up against the baddest of bad guys. It's like a crash course in mythology, but Marvel style. Imagine if Marvel decided to give these guys heroes more comic time, or better yet, give them a chance on the big screen. A spin-off from Thor or Eternals could open a whole new world of epic battles and ancient stories. Who knows, maybe in the next big Marvel movie we'll get to see the God Squad take on some universe-threatening villains. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 is Rage. Rage is a Marvel superhero who's kinda got Luke Cage powers and personality, but sadly doesn't get nearly as much attention as Luke Cage does. He joined the Avengers way before Cage did, but got less spotlight after quitting. He told them that real heroes do more than just fight bad guys. In the comics, Rage's story is pretty twisty. He's been in the Avengers, the Initiative, and the New Warriors, sometimes seen as a villain and a hero. He started heroing super young by lying to fit in with the top heroes. But here's the thing, Rage isn't always liked by other heroes. He's made mistakes because of his anger issues and faced rejection. He struggles with big stuff like race, age, and what being a hero really means. And that's why he's super underrated in the Marvel world. At number 7, The Question. Question is an often overlooked figure, especially the version portrayed by Renee Montoya. Renee, a skilled detective, swaps the comfort of accolades for the shadows of vigilantism, seeking to create genuine change. Despite her remarkable career, the Question remains in obscurity, deprived of the rightful recognition she deserves. Not all strength comes from overt displays of power, as we've just seen. Renee embodies the strength through resilience. After grappling with the toll of her superhero life on her mental well-being, she'd stepped away from the role. But when duty called, she did not hesitate to don the Question's identity once more. Her willingness to confront personal struggles and yet rise to the challenge when needed showcases a different kind of fortitude. Her story emphasizes that strength isn't just about physical prowess. It's about determination to confront the inner battles and still step up to protect others when the call comes. At number 6, Vixen's one cool hero you might not have heard much about. She's in the Justice League, but hasn't got much attention as some other big names. What makes her special is how she taps into the powers of animals. Like, she channels their abilities thanks to this totem passed down through generations. Any animal she could think of, bam, she can manifest the strength of a lion or the speed of a cheetah, and so on and so forth. The latest Vixen, Marie McCabe, has done some seriously awesome stuff. Like, she became the boss of the Justice League. Leading the top squad of superheroes is kind of a big deal. Only a handful of heroes have ever done that, and like their names are Batman and Batman. And to get the thumbs up from Batman himself to take charge is pretty massive. It shows that she's not just tough, but smart and reliable too. It's like being the team captain of an all-star team. A ton of pressure, but also a big honor. At number 5 is Ragman. Ragman is seriously underrated in the DC universe. He's not in the spotlight much, but he is seriously powerful. Rory Reagan, the guy inside the Ragman suit, can control it like it's an extension of himself. This suit's not just a fashion statement, it's also a serious weapon. It protects Reagan and also kicks some serious bad guy butt. His suit's got this cool power that can absorb the souls of evil people. Pretty heavy stuff. Ragman isn't afraid to take on big bad demons. He once faced a whole fleet of demons and saved the Earth, which is definitely no small feat. Even though he did take a beating, he came out on top and really showed how brave and heroic he is. DC should totally give this guy more screen time, as he deserves to be up there with the big leagues like Superman and Wonder Woman. At number 4 is Spoiler. There's no spoilers, don't worry guys. The hero's name is Spoiler. Also known as Stephanie Brown, she might not ring a bell as loud as other big names in the Bat family, but she is a superhero worth knowing about. She didn't just follow in somebody else's footsteps, as she carved her own path. As Spoiler, she stepped up big time, especially when facing off against a colossal baddie named Brother Eye. Now this villain here is no joke, like big league Justice level big. But Stephanie wasn't afraid to take him head on. When Brother Eye tried to mess things up using a different timeline, Stephanie didn't just freak out. Instead, she used that timeline to her advantage. Brought heroes from that time to help her out. And if it weren't for her guts and quick thinking, things in the DC world might have turned out totally different. The next time you hear about Bat Family superheroes, don't forget to give some props to Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler, because she's a real unsung hero in the DC universe. At number 3 is Killer Frost. Caitlin Snow, known as Killer Frost, doesn't totally get the spotlight she deserves, although she is kind of heavily featured on this channel. Initially seen as a bad guy, she's been trying hard to change that image. Imagine from going from total baddie to trying to do the good stuff is a massive leap. Killer Frost wasn't just chilling out, pun intended, as a villain. She had to battle her own past and nature to become a hero. Now what's cool about her is the determination she showed. It's like fighting against the odds, clawing her way out of the dark side. The transformation from an icy antagonist to a legit Justice League member is pretty huge, and not everybody gets that chance. So yeah, Killer Frost might not be as famous, but she's definitely earned her stripes. She's proof that even the chilliest hearts can thaw out for the better. At number 2 is the Human Target. Christopher Chance, better known as Human Target, is a hero in the shadows of DC Comics. His superpower? Transforming into anybody to safeguard important folks. He also has awesome detective skills, which make him a top-notch problem solver. But what makes him truly stand out is his selflessness. He once shielded Bruce Wayne from Deadshot's deadly aim. But he didn't just save the day, he shielded Batman's secret identity too, using his face-swapping talents. Human Target's heroics go unnoticed. He's like a secret guardian angel for all the big shots, and yet few ever give him the applause he deserves. Imagine having the guts to confront a villain like Deadshot, risking your own life just to keep others safe. It's these unsung heroes like Human Target who deserve a spot in the limelight. And coming in at number 1 is Batwing. Luke Fox, as Batwing in DC Comics, is seriously underrated. Now he's one of those heroes who doesn't get enough credit because, well, I mean, Batman's got this big shadow covering everybody else in Gotham. But Luke, he's no sidekick, you guys. He's a force to be reckoned with. There was one time in the comics when Gotham was about to get nuked by the League of Assassins. Now Luke didn't just sit around twiddling his thumbs. No, he got right in the thick of it. I mean, sure, he got nabbed alongside Azrael, but that didn't stop him. After busting out, he used his smarts to defuse the bomb that would have wiped out all of Gotham. It's definitely top-tier hero stuff. It's a shame, really, that more folks don't really give Batwing the credit he deserves, given that, you know, he's hardly the most unique Bat character in all of DC. Yet, he's super awesome. He's not just another guy in a cool bat suit. He's got the brains, the guts, and the will to save the day when it counts.
Number 10, Dupe. Dupe is one of the X-Men who is known for being pretty ridiculous, and as such, a lot of people do not take Dupe seriously at all, which also extends to Dupe's power levels. However, I would argue that Dupe is actually one of the most powerful X-Men ever, who is simply grossly underrated due to his nonsensical appearance and depiction. Dupe has powers that allow him to influence the emotions of others, perform magic, resurrect, travel in the liminal space between comic book panels, shatter the fourth wall as he pleases, and honestly, so much more. I think perhaps this is the reason, in fact, that he doesn't appear as often in the comics, and therefore isn't isn't as appreciated for his powers by fans. He's just too crazy. He's just too powerful. And friends, before I move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd and you love it when we talk about X-Men, I know I love it, be sure that you click that subscribe button, ring that bell so you do not miss out whenever we are talking about all the X-Men goodness. Number 9, Tempest. Tempest could literally undo anyone in the blink of an eye, like she did with Matthew Malloy, who was set up to be pretty much the most powerful mutant in almost all of existence, I would say. His reality bending was honestly off the charts, and yet Tempest was able to defeat him by traveling back in time to make sure his parents never met. Ho-ho. Her ability allows her to create time bubbles in which she can control the flow of time. Her powers earned her a place on Krakoa's Five, a team created for the purpose of handling all mutant resurrections. She can slow or speed up time as much as she wants within the bubbles, and can also use her chronokinesis powers to time travel. Number 8, Juggernaut. Juggernaut, a well-known X-Men antagonist, is widely regarded as one of the most powerful characters in the comics. Even though he is not a mutant, he became a member of the X-Men team after losing most of his abilities due to a dispute with Sidorak and seeking reconciliation with his stepbrother Charles Xavier. Interestingly, Juggernaut managed to form many friendships during his time with the X-Men. When I say that Juggy is underrated, I don't necessarily mean as a powerful character. I think we all know how powerful and dangerous Juggernaut can be. I personally would not want to face him, that is for sure. But when it comes to him as a member of the X-Men, I feel like this is often overlooked, and that overall he's a somewhat underrated member of the team in terms of what he brings to it. And I don't just mean in terms of his powers.
At number 7 is Sentry. So here's the lowdown on Sentry. His alter ego is Bob Reynolds, a regular dude who gets injected with this crazy experimental serum that turns him into the Sentry, and his powers are out of this world. He's got strength matching the Hulk, he can fly faster than Superman, and he packs enough energy to make the sun jealous. But here's where it gets really interesting. This dude's got some serious mental baggage. He's got this whole Jekyll and Hyde thing going on, because on one side he's the Sentry, all about saving the day, being a hero, and stopping bad guys. Then there's the flip side, the Void, where things get really dark. Part of him that can basically tear entire galaxies apart, making Hulk look like a kitten in comparison. See, the deal is, Sentry's struggle with his dual personality makes for some seriously intense stories. Like, come on, a schizophrenic superhero with the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns who can either save galaxies or destroy them? That's freaking awesome! But here's the kicker. Marvel hasn't given this guy as much spotlight as he deserves. Seriously, he's got potential for some mind-blowing tales, but they've just been keeping him in the shadows. With powers like his, you would expect him leading the Avengers or headlining big events, but no, he's just been kept in the background. It's like having a Ferrari and just using it for grocery shopping. It just doesn't add up. Marvel needs to rev up Sentry's storyline because he's a character with the potential to blow minds. At number 6 is Hank Pym. Dr. Henry Jonathan Pym is one of those Marvel superheroes that doesn't always get the spotlight, but trust me, his story is pretty intense. Imagine being haunted by guilt and self-doubt like all the time. That's pretty much Hank Pym for you. He's a complicated dude, dealing with things like bipolar disorder and depression, even coming close to giving up on life once. But you know what's impressive? Despite all this, he's still focused on helping humanity through science and heroism. Hank's journey wasn't all smooth sailing. There's the whole arc called the Trial of the Yellow Jacket, where he hits absolute rock bottom. Imagine feeling like you messed up big time and letting your friends down. He faces consequences, seeks redemption, and finally, he owns up to his mistakes. That's character growth right there. But then things got tough again. Ultron, Hank's creation, got him tons of guilt. It's heartbreaking to see him struggle even when he's trying to be an Avenger again. He battles inner demons, his fears, and a messed up relationship with Janet. It's a roller coaster of emotions. Later on, writers didn't do Hank Pym justice, painting him as a punching bag in the Bendis era. But Avengers Academy does him justice, showing his heroic side as a mentor to troubled kids. Hank, like all of us, struggles with mental health and trying to fit in, which hits close to home for many. He represents anyone seeking a second chance, which is super heroic in its own way. At number 5 is Layla Miller. Forget what you saw in House of M, that wasn't the real Layla. The One Who Matters is an X Factor Volume 3 by Peter David. So there's this mutant detective agency, and Layla just walks in and starts working there. She's not your typical superhero, she's a mastermind. She's like a problem solver who knows everything before it happened. See, there's this bad guy, Damien Turp, who's a time-traveling troublemaker. He tries tries to mess up X-Factor's plans, but Layla is steps ahead, tricking an assassin and taking him out without breaking a sweat. She's the reason Tripp's schemes fall apart, and she does all this while saying she just kinda knows stuff. I mean, seriously, Layla is so cool that even the top villains like Dr. Doom and the King of all Hells owe her favors. At number 4 is Songbird. Songbird, aka Melissa Gold, has a roller coaster of a storyline in the comics. Starting out as a baddie, but later finding her way to the good side, she's had quite the journey. Her backstory is no walk in the park either. Runaway life, family troubles, the whole shebang. Now what makes Songbird stand out is her powers. She can manipulate sound like nobody's business. She's got these implants and enhancements that let her do some seriously cool stuff like sonic blasts, force fields made out of sound. She can even craft solid objects like weapons or platforms using sound waves. And flying, she's got that down too. But hold your hats because there's more. Songbird can mess with people's heads using her voice. I'm talking mind control here, though it's easier with weaker-minded folks. In a nutshell, Songbird's got this killer power set that Marvel could dive into way more. She's got the potential to shake things up big time, especially in the Thunderbolts crew. Is yet another street fighting powerhouse with powers akin to Luke Cage. This dude, a former UWC fighter, got juiced up with powers by Dr. Carl Malice, which sounds cool at first, but here's the twist. Along with those powers, he got hooked on a substance that was supposed to keep him going strong, but instead, it messed up his mind big time, amping up his aggression. Demolition Man rolled with Daredevil, Captain America, and even kicked it with the Avengers, but after all this, after all that superhero cred, he ended up forgotten, wandering the streets in his old getup, homeless. It's a sad deal. He had a heart of gold, but somehow got lost in the shuffle of Marvel big names. At number 2 is Daredevil. Daredevil doesn't nearly get the credit he deserves. I mean, lots of folks who aren't into comics just see him as a blind dude in a red suit. They think that he's an easy win for anybody, but that's not true. Matt Murdock's powers are rad, not lame. It's probably because that old Ben Affleck movie totally messed things up for him. They completely got his powers wrong. Like, people think he only sees with sounds like echolocation or something, but that's so off. He's way cooler than that. Murdock was originally enhanced by radioactive isotope, which later blinded him, and as a result, he possesses superhuman senses, agility, reflexes, balance, and etc. Murdock's nervous system has also increased some of his abilities at peak human level. See, Daredevil can sense everything around him perfectly. He doesn't need to tap stuff to see. He's not just about hearing, he's got a full-on super sense thing going on. But it's frustrating that so many people don't get it. But you know what? Maybe it's better this way, because being underrated might be why he gets the best stories. If he was big as Spider-Man or Batman, writers might mess up his character, so maybe it's cool that he flies under the radar. And coming in at number 1 is Iceman. Alright, let's get something straight here. Bobby Drake is one of the most powerful superheroes, period. Because his superpower isn't ice or cold, it's based on molecular motion. He has the power to influence the speed of molecules, thus making things colder, which is obscenely powerful. He's been shown to prevent nuclear explosions. He's created ice walls so thick and strong it contain the Hulk. With a single thought, he can freeze the molecules and dissipate an entire person's body. He has the ability to block other mutants from accessing their powers too. In organic ice form, you can destroy his body, and he's still able to reform it, essentially making him close to unkillable. He can use surrounding moisture to grow in size and gaining superhuman strength in the process. Even though he's done all these things, he still hasn't tapped into his full potential. Now, while most of us astute nerds know about hydrokinesis allowing control over water molecules, there's more beneath the surface. He's manipulated water to turn himself into it, journeying through its very molecules. Yet his lesser known ability involves cellular replacement. Bobby discovered that he could draw ambient moisture into himself, using it to replace his own cells one piece at a time. This adaptation lets him sidestep fatal neurotoxins by dissipating poison molecules into vapor and substituting untainted ones from his surroundings. Thus, he effectively heals and renews his body pretty much on command, demonstrating that as long as moisture exists, Iceman stands invincible, a testament to the hidden layers of the mighty superhuman narrative. At number 10, it's kind of obvious, Aquaman. One might overlook the depths of appreciation for Aquaman within the Justice League. Sure, his capability to communicate with marine life might seem pretty niche, but let's reel in the bigger picture. The oceans cover about 70% of our planet, harboring uncharted territories and mysteries. Aquaman isn't just some guy who talks to fish. He's the bridge between those two worlds, a literal middle ground between humanity and the mysterious deep. His trident isn't just a fancy fork, you guys. It controls tides, wields immense power, and symbolizes authority. I mean, just think about it. The Justice League isn't just about battling supervillains, it's also about safeguarding Earth's entire spectrum, both above and below the waves. So perhaps it's finally time we give Aquaman the recognition he deserves for his role as an unsung guardian of not just our cities, but also our oceans. If you're enjoying the video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. I really appreciate it. At number 9, Dr. Light. Dr. Light, no, not the villainous one. We're shining a light on Kimiyo Hoshi, the heroic version. During Crisis on Infinite Earths, Hoshi got a cosmic power-up courtesy of the Monitor. But she didn't just twiddle her thumbs after that. Oh no, she actually joined forces with John Kent's League. Fast forward to a mission with Damian Wayne where her true potential ignited. She latched onto her powers like a life buoy in the Sea of Trouble, seizing the Great Darkness's link to the Dark Army. And using her cosmic juju, she was able to keep the wonky multiverse in check. Like, imagine the multiverse like a Jenga tower on a shaky table. That's Dark Crisis for you. But thanks to Dr. Light's intervention, that tower stood up tall. At number 8 is Martian Manhunter. When it comes to the Justice League, we often find ourselves focusing on the big names like the iconic Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, but let's not forget about the underrated gem in the lineup, Mr. Martian Manhunter. John Johns, as he's known on his Mars block, boasts an impressive record. He's been a steadfast member since the League's inception, a fact that might even surprise the most dedicated fans of the superhero world. While he took a brief hiatus to deal with his own rogues gallery in Metropolis, Martian Manhunter proved his mettle when the chips were down. The Dark Army threat called him back into action alongside his super buddies, and there he stood resolute and ready. In an ultimate showdown, he, like other heroes, met his quote-unquote demise, only to triumph through the chaos, showing us that his place was never in question. John Johns, the shape-shifting, telepathic powerhouse, truly deserves a spotlight among Earth's mightiest heroes.
Number 7, Beast. Beast is underrated on, honestly, a lot of levels, whether we're talking about classic Beast or current Beast, but especially I feel with the current Beast that we have, that guy is downright deadly. Not only was he unable to be reined in by Wolverine, who ultimately ended up killing Beast after Beast had him become his lapdog to be sent out on some of the darkest missions of X-Force, reducing Wolverine to a mere tool used for wiping out perceived threats to Krakoa, but he also perhaps has become even more dangerous after being resurrected. Now we have multiple Beast clones who themselves are working on their own small army of Wolverine clones with the project known as Weapons of X. Number 6, Sync. Sync is only now starting to be fully appreciated by fans around the world, all thanks to his reappearance in the Krakoa era. Sync was one of the people prioritized for resurrection, as he was needed to go on a mission into the Vault where the Children of the Vault had retreated. Considering them and their evolution a threat, the Quiet Council put together a small away team to investigate what was happening inside the Vault, sending them out to basically infiltrate it. This is just what Sync, Darwin, and Laura Kinney, then known as Wolverine, currently known as Talon in the comics, were tasked to do. It's here that we got to bask in Sync's rainbow colors, saw the relationship develop between Everett himself and Laura, and where we learned that it might be possible for Sync to even sync with others who were not mutants. We'd also learn in the X-Men series that Sync had evolved to a point that he could remain synced with his fellow mutants even when outside of their range, making Sync possibly one of the most powerful mutants to just have ever existed. Number 5, Banshee. Banshee, simply put, isn't a hero we focused on here on Top 10 Nerd. I can't remember the last time I featured him on a list, and yet he kicks butt consistently in the comics. Banshee's mutant powers turn him into a siren, which oddly enough is the name for his daughter, who shares his abilities, the name that she took up for herself as an active mutant hero. Banshee can use his powers to attack his opponents, fly, see in the dark with sonar abilities, influence and persuade his opponents, and even create shields, all with the use of his amazing voice. Basically, he's like a smaller scale Black Bolt, which means that while Black Bolt, the Inhuman King, gets a ton of love in the comics and outside, other Sonic-based heroes like Banshees, Sean Cassidy tend to fall by the wayside, sadly. Number 4, Chimera. Chimera is the daughter of Storm and likely Black Panther, who hails from the alternate reality 13729. Chimera seems to have inherited the powers of her mother, but also shares a connection to the Earth, which allows her to draw on and harness its energy. She is also a skilled tracker and can communicate telepathically with animals. I'd also assume, as she's the daughter of Storm and of T'Challa, that she is a skilled combatant as well, as while Storm is more well known for her goddess status and weather manipulation powers, she's also an extremely skilled fighter as well, and her dad would obviously be a given inspiration for her as a fighter. Black Panther is well known for his fighting prowess. Chimera may have hailed from Earth 13729, where she was a member of the X-Men, but after being displaced to Earth 616, the main comic book continuity, she also became a member of the X-Men there as well. Number 3. Angel/Archangel. Warren Worthington III is not usually folks' first pick for mutants who are their favorite among those who have belonged to the X-Men team, but it is important, I think, to acknowledge Warren's history with the mutants and consider the fact that he is a legacy member of the X-Men. Warren joined up with the very first roster of the X-Men team to have ever existed, being one of the first members to be brought together by Charles Xavier. Sure, he might have hollow bones, and his powers may mostly involve just flight, but when it comes to flying, Warren has proven in the past that he is one of the best, and in his Archangel form, he is even more powerful. He is also one of the most useful mutants outside of his power set, being an extremely accomplished businessman who tends to be one of the most charismatic members of the X-Men, who since his early days has been popular with the public, helping the team's image. Number 2. Polaris. Polaris is a character who I feel like often gets overshadowed by her dad, Magneto, and yet she too is just as much, or nearly as much I'd say, of a powerhouse as he is. Polaris has had somewhat of a rough go in recent years, especially when it comes to confronting her past and moving forward towards her future. I would love to see more moments like when she joined the X-Men, where she gets her moment in the spotlight. It's well deserved, and Lorna Dane deserves to not have her character sabotaged at every single turn, like has happened to her in some of her past. She's underrated on multiple levels, both as a hero and as a character with some real depth to her. I think it would be really amazing to see her team up with her now considered adoptive sister and brother as well to fight against injustice in the world. I love all the healing we've been doing with this whole family lately, and it would be so cool to continue along that path and see where else it could take us, especially if we bring the family together as a unit. I've seen it happen a little bit in the comics, but I'd love to see more of it. Number 1. Kid Omega. Poor Kid Omega's trope initially with his appearance in the Krakoan era X-Men comics involved him constantly being taken out, as in permanently defeated. But don't let that fool you. Quentin Quire is still a psionic badass who deserves your respect. He is considered to be one of a limited few mutants who belong to the Omega level class, meaning that he has unlimited potential in terms of what he can accomplish. And while being super powerful psionically, he's also super brilliant as well, and can actually think faster and at a higher capacity than even other extremely powerful and skilled Omega level telepaths. Quentin joined up with Logan's X-Men and has been shown to be a potential future Phoenix in Wolverine and the X-Men issue number 42.
Coming in at number 10 is Takuya Yamashiro. Instead of being Peter Parker, the Japanese Spider-Man is Takuya Yamashiro, a motocross racer and son of astrophysicist Dr. Hiroshi Yamashiro. Now, unlike most other versions of Spider-Man, Takuya was introduced through the live-action Japanese Spider-Man TV show, and with that, his character differs quite a bit. For starters, his spider powers are a little bit less powerful due to the budget constraints for the show, which is a hilarious reason. But don't you dare think that makes this guy a pushover. To make up for his less powerful spider powers, Takuya has a massive kaiju fighting mech named Leopardon or Leopardon, Power Ranger style, with arm rockets, an absolutely massive sword, and a boomerang. He uses Leopardon and his spider abilities to fight the Iron Cross Army, a group of suspiciously human-looking aliens from an unnamed world who are led by one Professor Monster. Now, due to his popularity and just how awesome he is, Takuya Yamashiro has become an official character in the multiverse, coming from Earth 51778, and he has appeared in comics fighting against the Inheritors alongside the Spider Army in the Spider-Verse event, and almost all the events that spun off of that. Number 9. Earth X Venom. In the alternate future of Earth 999, basically every single person has superpowers. Things have gone apocalyptic, and in an act of vengeance, the Venom symbiote bonded to the daughter of Peter Parker, May Parker. While her retired and cynical pops ain't too thrilled about it, May does actually have complete control over the symbiote thanks to her advanced and honed spider sense, which was something the symbiote was not expecting to happen. Venom and her father, Spider-Man, go on to join the superpowered police force force and fight crime and supervillain threats together. Now eventually, she, after the death of Death itself, goes on to be recruited by Kang the Conqueror as part of a multiversal team to fight the Apocalypse Twins. In addition to her proportional spider powers plus the enhanced spider sense, she gains all the usual symbiote powers plus a few extra, like what seems to be a form of telepathy, and it is believed that her symbiote could go on to mutate even further to gain more powers if Marvel wants to do that. She's one of the coolest looking versions of Venom while also being one of the most capable around. Number 8. Brother Mutant. Unlike almost any other version of the Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Warlock was a male version of the crazy powerful character from Earth 127 appearing in Exiles issue 85 from 2006. But if he wasn't already powerful enough with the usual abilities possessed by the Scarlet Witch, which are a lot, he was also combined with this world's version of Wolverine, Magneto, Quicksilver, and Mesmero to become Brother Mutant, when he attempted to use his magics to imbue Magneto with Wolverine's adamantium skeleton. Now Brother Mutant became a single entity with all their combined powers, and he went a little bit nuts, vowing to end the life of every non-mutant on the planet Earth. Multiple teams of alternate versions of Wolverine were sent to this alternate Earth to try and correct the mistake that was Brother Mutant even existing, and almost all of these Wolverines failed. The last group of Wolverines alongside the Exiles themselves were able to finally bring him down, eventually.
At number 7 is John Constantine. Enter John Constantine, the unassuming yet pivotal member of the Justice League. Nestled within the DC universe, his mastery over the arcane and his sharp wit are his greatest assets. Constantine's recent exploits with the Justice League Dark demonstrates his prowess in thwarting even the most menacing of adversaries. His instrumental role in quelling Merlin's earth-threatening havoc showcased his resourcefulness. But it's not just about the supernatural. When the cataclysmic onslaught by Pyrrha on the multiverse unraveled, Constantine's significance truly shone. United with the League's unconventional champions, he orchestrated a daring expedition into the Starheart. This voyage unearthed the elusive ties between Pyrrha and the looming Great Darkness, unraveling a truth vital to preserving the cosmos. So without Constantine's calculated audacity, the unraveling of this intricate tapestry might have remained an unrealized endeavor. At number 6 is Detective Chimp. Detective Chimp, a seemingly unconventional member of the Justice League Dark, often flies under the radar. Nestled within DC's magical realm, Detective Chimp's inclusion might appear puzzling at first glance, yet he's a strategic asset with a rich history. Having intertwined with the Shadow Pact, he actively combated the Spectre and assumed leadership. His saga continued as he merged into the JLD, significantly contributing to toppling the enigmatic Upside Down Man. Engagements against mystical adversaries like Merlin and Xanadoth further underscore his prowess. What's remarkable is that Detective Chimp lacks innate magic. His power lies in his encyclopedic insights and deductive prowess. A nonchalant chimp on a couch with a beer might not scream hero, but this tale resonates with the essence of heroism, leveraging what you possess in unexpected ways. At number 5 is Black Canary. DC's trove of superhero houses some major players, yet few shine as brilliantly as Black Canary. Striding confidently in her signature leather jacket and fishnets, she exudes a unique aura. A formidable Justice League member, she's no stranger to clashing with villains like the Royal Flush Gang and Xanadoth. Do any of you nerds remember the Pyrrha incident? Well, it didn't end well, and thanks to Barry Allen, she returned to the fray. At number 4 is Zatanna. DC Comics is a realm brimming with Caped Crusaders and superpowered saviors, and harbors an array of mystical manipulators, none more captivatingly enigmatic than Zatanna. When the formidable Wonder Woman found herself momentarily absent, it was Zatanna who gracefully shouldered the mantle of command, guiding the Justice League Dark. Her pivotal role in orchestrating the League's standoff against the sinister Merlin can't be understated. Amidst all this arcane chaos, she deliberately relinquished control, a calculated gambit that culminated in Merlin's undoing. But this was merely the tip of her metaphysical iceberg. See, Zatanna emerged as a linchpin in the League's conquest against the formidable Xanadoth, locking horns with Pyrrha and his nefarious Dark Army. With unwavering mettle, she showcased why she deserved the crown of the League's unsung champion. Throughout all of last year, Zatanna became omnipresent, an indomitable force safeguarding the multiverse, and an unsung sun sentinel, shaping destinies with every uttered incantation. At number 3 is Hippolyta. Hippolyta is a formidable Amazonian warrior, proud and strong. Her introduction into the Justice League as a beacon of hope and might was anticipated by many. But alas, the anticipation doesn't always translate into reality. You see, Hippolyta's presence within the League remained akin to a whisper in the Tempest, overshadowed by the cosmic machinations of Perpetua and the enigmatic Batman who laughs. But fear not, for every star has its moment to gleam. Enter Wonder Woman Historia, a tapestry woven in the loom of imagination. Within its pages, Hippolyta emerges not as a mere figure in the background, but as a central force. We traverse her ancient battles, her defiance against mighty Zeus, and her valiant struggle to emancipate women from their tormentors. In this alternate avenue, Hippolyta illuminates the narrative with deserved radiance, proving that even obscured stars can blaze anew. At number 2 is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, a symbol of strength and justice who has been a cornerstone of the Justice League, yet her pivotal role often goes unnoticed. In 2022, her journey across the multiverse and involvement in the trial of the Amazons showcased her resilience. Stepping back from leading the Justice League Dark, she aided both the leagues against the formidable Xanadoth, and notably, her contribution in the showdown against Pyrrha and the Dark Army stuck out. Rescued by Barry Allen, she emerged in the final battle, emphasizing her unwavering commitment. Although in this series her time in the League was limited, the quality of her actions spoke volumes. Wonder Woman's return marked a turning point, spotlighting her often underrated significance in safeguarding the League and the broader universe. And at number 1 is Green Arrow. Green Arrow often finds himself lurking in the shadows of the limelight, but let's not underestimate the gravity of his contributions. So you see, 2022 was a really good year for Green Arrow. Not content with mere archery prowess, he silently bankrolled the League's operations, an unsung hero in the financial realm. When the Royal Flush Gang and Xanadoth posed threats, there he stood, bow drawn, ready for action. His devotion went beyond the battlefield. When Black Canary was summoned to the Hall of Heroes, uninvited was he, yet a resolute in companionship. Pyrrha's ominous Dark Army meets its match, and eventually Pyrrha's ominous Dark Army met its match as the battle ensued. Yet it was Green Arrow's sacrifice that tipped the scales, obliterating Pyrrha's machinery and securing triumph. It just goes to show that superhuman strength isn't always about flashy costumes and booming catchphrases, so the next time you find yourself pondering the capabilities of these unsung heroes, let's remember that sometimes it's the quieter, less celebrated members who possess astonishing abilities beyond what meets the eye.
Coming in at number 10 is Ace the Bat Hound. Of all the Bat family pets, Alfred the Cat, Bat Cow, Titus, Ace came first, and he wasn't just another pet of Damian Wayne. Not that there's anything wrong with that, I'm just saying. Now, Ace seems to be a name shared by many dogs who have worked with Bruce Wayne and his companions. When he first appeared in Batman number 462 in May of 1991, Ace was a shepherd-type doggo, and that's been the most popular breed for Ace the Bat Hound, usually a German shepherd. But he was also a Mastiff for a long while as well, with no real explanation. The most recent and popular German shepherd Ace the Bat Hound was an attack dog for the Joker and was not treated very well. Luckily, this very good boy was taken in by Alfred and the Bat family, and he became the bestest Bat boy ever. Yes, he did. Number 9, Batwoman. There have been a few different Batwomen over the years, but the one who will always stick in most fans' minds would have to be Kate Kane. Now, just to be clear, this is Batwoman we are talking about and not Batgirl. As a child of military parents, Kate has a soldier's mentality which just adds to her amazing fighting skills. She has cultivated over the years, not to mention a deep, intense desire to be the best she can be always. She received training from the Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and Special Air Service, and the villain Shadow also helped to train her to become a better hero. Following Batman's disappearance after the Infinite Crisis, Kate Kane assumed the Batwoman mantle and stepped in to become Gotham's protector. Kate has even displayed some superpowers. At one point, an injury left her able to detect electromagnetic fields, and in the Future Imperfect storyline, she even became a vampire. Number 8, Bluebird. I think Bluebird, or Harper Row, is looked over quite a bit when we talk about the Bat family, and honestly, it's kind of understandable. She did actually step down from her hero mantle in order to get her electrical engineering skills accredited, which honestly, that's the most real-world reason reason for someone to stop being a hero, but it was probably the smart thing to do because Harper Row here is a whiz with electronics and electrical engineering. She's used her natural aptitude to help both her and her brother survive, as well as assisting Batman multiple times without him asking, improving upon some of his tech and helping out Red Robin on a few occasions using her homemade advanced tools. She's actually very cool, in my humble opinion, in her brief time being around. Number 7, General James Howlett. In the second volume of Extreme X-Men, joining a team of multi-dimensional mutants that hunt down evil Professor Xavier's across many dimensions is a much different version of Wolverine. Hailing from the reality of Earth 12025, this version of our feral mutant is the Governor General of the Dominion of Canada and Viceroy to Her Majesty's expedition to Shangri-La. He is like a version of Wolverine who is also mixed with President Theodore Roosevelt. General James Howlett is an adventurer and hero alongside his partner and lover, the demigod Hercules, or Heracles if you prefer. These two shared a love that was built after years and years of working together, and their bond was so strong that Hercules gave James a super cool upgrade in the form of a skeleton made of adamantine, a godly golden metal even stronger than adamantium, making Wolverine completely indestructible and immune to telepathic attacks. Unfortunately, due to the god-on-mortal nature of the relationship, the Greek gods did not approve and banished the pair to Tartarus, where they fought hordes and hordes of lost and damned souls for 4 years straight. Number 6, Spider's Man. On Earth 11580, Peter Parker was taking a tour of a lab that was conducting radiation experiments on a colony of spiders, when lo and behold, Peter fell into the spider habitat and was promptly devoured by the entire colony. Now fear not, because Peter would sort of live on, because in a horrifying twist of events, the spiders had absorbed Peter's consciousness and became a hive mind that formed together to masquerade as a human hero and fight crime, thus becoming Spider's Man. Spider's Man fought crime for a time, but unfortunately developed a taste for human flesh. The spiders managed to hide this for a time and were recruited by the superior Spider-Man in his multiversal quest to defeat the Inheritors. This colony eventually betrayed Otto by joining forces with the Norman Osborn Spider-Man of Earth 44145 to try and destroy the Web of Life and Destiny. This plan failed, but Spider-Man did manage to spread his spiders across the multiverse, giving him an anchor in every different reality, and that is impressive. Number 5, Space Punisher Hulk. To my knowledge, the version of Hulk appearing in the wacky Space Punisher story has only appeared in 2 comic books, but despite that, he has shown that he is completely terrifying. For starters, he is a completely separate entity from Bruce Banner, whose body is literally trapped inside of the Hulk. Hulk, while having all the powers of the Hulk, also had an extra set of arms and is quite a bit taller. He is described as a destructive killing machine, well known for destroying spaceships, brutally defeating the Fantastic Four, taking out Doc Samson with his own hair, biting straight through Sabretooth, and somehow taking out Deadpool by literally tearing his head off, which shouldn't actually work, but whatever. He defeated and ended the life of 6 Watchers single-handedly, broke the leader's back in combat, and he also ripped out Bruce Banner from his own chest. I don't even understand how that works. He is virtually invulnerable, seemingly indestructible, and invincible. He can move faster than light and pass through barriers of existence and reality. The Hulk is scary on a regular day. Space Punisher Hulk? I'll pass. Thank you. Number 4, Novar. Now, to be completely fair, this is not a variant of one character, but he is someone who has held the same title as another hero, and he does come from an alternate universe. Created by Grant Morrison and J.G. Jones, Novar is a Kree from the alternate reality of Earth 20000080, and I'm just gonna say, he's weird. Why? Well, because this particular Kree had his DNA altered with the genes of a cockroach. They also gave him nanobiology. This gives him a whole bunch of special attributes: superhuman strength, stamina, agility, and a top speed of 150 miles per hour on land. He is triple jointed, can reroute pain, has hallucinogenic saliva, technopathy, he has mental control over his body, can wall crawl, has super hearing, and can reach faster than light speeds of flight. Is it insane that this even happens? Yes, but it does. While he is more commonly known as Marvel Boy, when he was in our 616 universe, the Skrull Captain Marvel Kinnear inspired Novar to become Captain Marvel, which he did, but as part of Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers before abandoning the team. Number 3. Killmonger the Destroyer. The Destroyer armor is something that I always kind of forget exists. It only appears every now and then, and it's always a huge deal when it does, but I am so used to it only appearing in Asgardian related stories, so, needless to say, when it showed up being retrofitted for the Black Panther villain Killmonger in Avengers Forever as part of the multiversal Masters of Evil, I was more than happy to be taken by surprise. We get a better picture of this villain's story in issue 6 of Avengers Forever. When T'Challa was still just a wee little baby, this Killmonger the Destroyer destroyed Wakanda, single-handedly putting the Wakandan gods under his thumb and turning the country's warriors to ash. Killmonger was traveling the multiverse from Earth to Earth, Wakanda to Wakanda, destroying every version of T'Challa that he could, except for the one that would escape to become the Sky Spider, the Vibranium Man, and eventually the Star Panther. King Killmonger would travel on his ship alongside his War Panther mercenaries, using his destroyer armor to level entire cities and entire planets. As part of the Masters of Evil, he was a pretty intimidating foe. Number 2. Tony Stark Sorcerer Supreme. In All New X-Men Annual Number 1 from 2014, Marvel gave us a version of Tony Stark Iron Man from the temporary reality number of 591. Tony, in this reality, successfully brought together the Avengers to permanently end the threat of Thanos on this universe. Because of the Avengers accomplishing that insane feat of strength and saving pretty much the entire universe from the threat of Thanos, the alien races of that universe rewarded the Earth and its heroes with advanced alien technology, allowing the Earth under Tony Stark's watch to become a utopia. Tony himself would start to lean more into his mystical side with all the extra time he had after saving the universe, and eventually he became the Sorcerer Supreme and was able to solve further conflicts without needing to do any kind of real fighting. Last I've heard, this Tony was living youthfully comfortable at 126 years old. Now this isn't the only Tony to become the Sorcerer Supreme, but he is certainly one of the most accomplished, yet he's only actually appeared 6 times in total, and he only shows up for tiny little moments here and there. And finally, in at number 1, it's Mar-Vell of Earth 9997. In this universe, Mar-Vell of the Kree is pretty similar to his 616 counterpart, only after passing on, he found himself in the realm of the dead. Now this is an insane story with a lot of moving parts, but essentially, Mar-Vell ends up recruiting the other dead heroes of the world to a crusade against death itself, all the while being reborn on Earth and collecting powerful artifacts and even destroying the Kree Supreme Intelligence, which bolstered his army in the realm of the dead. Eventually, he defeats both Thanos and Death herself, and creates a paradise for the dead in the negative zone. But that creates a whole bunch of problems as he realizes the living can no longer pass away now, so he restores Death. It's truly insane. Mar-Vell had the power of eternity, meaning he basically had limitless power, but also for a time, he had access to, get this, the Ultimate Nullifier, Anti-Metal, the Book of the Vishanti, the Darkhold, the Orb and Eye of Agamotto, Psycho Man's Emotocaster, High Evolutionary's Transmogrification Device, the Silver Surfer's Power Cosmic, Kyle Richmond's Eyes, the Cosmic Consciousness, and the Mandarin's Power Rings. Insane.